The decentralized web, Web3, it's exploding. It feels like there's a Cambrian explosion of new chains, new bridges, new protocols popping up every single day. But, all this crazy growth has created some serious growing pains. So today, we're going to dive into two of the absolute biggest ones: the crisis of complexity for the people building the stuff, and the paradox of privacy for all of us who want to use it. Let's get into it.
Right, so you can literally see this new internet being built all around us, block by block. But just like any massive construction project, it's hitting some really fundamental challenges. And a great place to start is with the people on the front lines. The ones who are actually keeping the lights on. For the operators, the people who run the nodes, who secure the networks, things have gotten exponentially harder. The dream of this amazing multi-chain future is fantastic, but it comes with a very real and very complex operational cost.
Think about how much the job of a network operator has changed. Just a few years ago, you could focus on one thing. Maybe you ran a Bitcoin node, or you were a Cardano stake pool operator. You were basically helping to secure one network. It was simpler, but today, it's a multi-chain world for sure. Operators are expected to juggle dozens of different protocols, make sure they can all talk to each other, and try to navigate this whole new ocean of complex revenue streams.
And this multi-chain reality, while it brings a whole new level of headaches, this isn't just clicking a button and you're done. We're talking about provisioning new components, making sure there's 24/7 uptime, defending against constant attacks, and scrambling to keep up with every single critical security patch. And here's the kicker. For every new protocol you add, you got to learn all its unique quirks right from scratch. The complexity just stacks and stacks and stacks.
So how do you fix this? How do you possibly tame all of that chaos without just giving up on the core ideas of Web3? Well, this is where a new open-source tool called SuperNode enters the picture, and it was designed to tackle this problem head-on.
SuperNode focuses on what's called operational complexity. And the best way to think about it is like an iceberg. The part you see, the API you interact with, that's just the very tip. All the hard stuff, the security, the provisioning, the updates, the monitoring, that is the massive, complicated part hidden under the water. And that's exactly what SuperNode is trying to simplify.
Now, look, there are a few ways people have tried to deal with this complexity. Path 1, you could use a big, centralized provider. This is easy, but it totally goes against the whole point of decentralization, right? Path 2, you could use a shared API that kind of papers over the differences. But then you lose all the unique, cool features of each blockchain. It's that common denominator problem where everything gets dumbed down. SuperNode offers a third path. It automates away the operational nightmare while letting you keep the full power and decentralization of every single protocol.
So how does it actually work? Well, SuperNode is this open-source toolkit that turns all that complex infrastructure into these nice, manageable pieces. It gives you a catalog of workloads so you can install nodes or bridges, almost like you're installing apps from an app store. It gives you one-click setup, optional automatic version updates to keep you secure, and pre-configured monitoring dashboards right out of the box.
And what's so important here, what's so authentic, is that SuperNode wasn't just some academic project dreamed up in a lab. It was built by the team at TX Pipe because they were struggling with these exact problems while managing their own infrastructure. They literally built the tool they wish they had, and then they gave it away to everybody.
Okay, so we've seen how new tools are helping the builders. But what about the users? What about the rest of us? That brings us to the second huge growing pain, the privacy paradox. Public blockchains are transparent by design, which is great, but that very transparency creates a massive roadblock for real-world adoption.
This quote from the source material just says it all, doesn't it? The idea of putting your sensitive medical records or your company's most valuable trade secrets on a public, permanent, unchangeable ledger, it's a complete non-starter for most people and pretty much every business out there.
So this gets us to the core dilemma, the paradox, right? How do we get all the amazing benefits of blockchain, that trust, that security, without having to sacrifice the fundamental need for privacy and discretion that the real world absolutely demands?
And that is precisely the problem that the Midnight platform was created to solve. This is a project designed from the ground up to be a rational, powerful privacy engine for Web3, and it's taking a very strategic, very deliberate path to get there.
So, Midnight is starting out with what's called a federated launch. Now, I know that word can sometimes sound a little scary in the Web3 space, but it's a really strategic choice here. By starting with a select group of trusted operational partners, they can create a stable environment to totally battle-harden the protocol. They can make sure the foundation is unbreakable before opening the floodgates to the wider community.
And for anyone who's been following Cardano, this whole path should feel really familiar. It's basically a refined version of the Cardano blueprint. Remember, Cardano's Byron era was a federated start that allowed the core tech to mature in a safe space. Then came the Shelley era, which handed the keys over to the community. Midnight is following a very similar path, moving from its first federated phase, which is called Culu, towards full decentralization. But it's doing it with all the new tech and all the lessons learned since Cardano first launched.
So the crucial point here is this. Midnight isn't starting from scratch and trying to reinvent the wheel on decentralization. No way. It's building on the incredibly rigorous, peer-reviewed, decentralized foundation of Cardano, and then it's integrating a powerful privacy engine on top. It's basically inheriting years of world-class research to speed up its own path to a secure, private network.
So, when you put these two big pieces together, one project tackling complexity for the builders, the other tackling privacy for the users, you start to see a really clear picture of a more mature Web3 ecosystem starting to emerge.
Let's just bring it all home. On one hand, you have this crushing operational complexity, which was threatening to burn out the very people building this new internet. Well, tools like SuperNode are stepping in to solve that and make Web3 sustainable. On the other hand, you have the privacy paradox, which was basically keeping mainstream users and businesses on the sidelines. And platforms like Midnight are solving that to make Web3 safe and practical for everyone. See? These aren't just two separate solutions. They're two sides of the same coin, and that coin is called maturity.
Ultimately, that's the shared goal here. It boils down to this. One tool is making the engine room of Web3 manageable, while one platform is making the front door safe and private for everybody else. Both of these are absolutely critical steps toward making this technology finally ready for prime time.
And that leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? As the tools for builders get so much better and the platforms for users get so much safer, are we finally seeing the pieces fall into place? Is Web3 about to move beyond the early adopters and truly, finally enter the mainstream? Well, only time will tell.